morning and welcome to Abntv newspaper review of today. Good morning and welcome to Abntv newspaper review of today. I am Ifeoluwa Adesoya.
I am Kenny Afolabi.
Here with me, I have the Tribune and the Guardian newspaper. First of all, let's venture into the Tribune newspaper. FAAC allocation to states up by over 62% in 2 years. Presidency. Federal allocations to each of the 36 states have increased by more than 62% in the last 2 years, the presidency has said. A document made available to the Nigerian Tribune at the weekend by the authorities explained that the astronomical rise in the allocation freed up resources for states to develop. The boost in the distributable revenues accruing to the federal purse, according to the presidency, is made possible by the fiscal and monetary policy of the current federal administration. It stated that President Bola Tinubu opened up the nation's fiscal space with increased internally generated revenue from the Federal Inland Revenue Service to the tune of 21.3 trillion naira at the Nigerian Customs Service. The subsisting formula for federal allocation is 52.68% to the federal government, 26.72% to the states, and 20.60% to local government. A 13% derivation fund is also allocated to oil-producing states. The full story is in the Tribune newspaper. Over to you, Ken.
Here with me, I have the Punch newspaper and I have the Vanguard newspaper. Firstly, we are going to feature into the Punch newspaper. Oyebanji urges local governments to leverage autonomy for development. Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebanji has charged local governments in the state to harness the potential and financial autonomy to scale up services delivery to the grassroots. Oyebanji, represented by his Chief of Staff Oyeniyi Adebayo, at a 3-day seminar said local governments as a grassroots-oriented remains a pivotal institution in the realization of the sustainable development goals and the actualization of the three spirits of the Nigeria federal structure. The seminar was organized by the Ministry of Local Government Affairs in partnership with Sunstone Place Management Consultants for Council Executive, Legislature, and Top Management. He said the workshop with the theme Local Government Autonomy, reposition the local governments for effective services delivery, will expose participants to best practice, regulatory frameworks, and strategic financial management and the practical challenges and the opportunities associated with autonomous local governments. Oyebanji, who described the local government as the engine of grassroots development, charged with the responsibility of providing essential services, infrastructure, and governance that directly impacts the community lives, and said their effectiveness had often been curtailed by financial and operational constraints. Oyebanji urges local governments to leverage autonomy for development. The full details of this story is inside the Punch newspaper for today. Over to you, Ifeoluwa.
In another story in the Tribune newspaper, cleric urges Nigerians to promote gentle communication in crisis. The Catholic Bishop of Ilorin Diocese, Most Reverend Haslim Lawanin, has urged Nigerians to adopt gentle and responsible communication, especially in a time when misinformation, division, and despair are becoming the norm in the public discourse. Delivering his address marking the 59th World Communication Day themed Share with Gentleness, the hope that is in your heart, at St. Joseph Catholic Cathedral, Ilorin, Bishop Lawani urged people to be active messengers of hope. He described the occasion as a timely reminder for all, especially in Nigeria, where digital spaces are increasingly misused to spread falsehoods, insert hatred, and provoke conflict. In our world today, especially in Nigeria, social media has become a breeding ground for unethical dramas, verbal attacks, and misinformation, the bishop said. There is an urgent need to disarm communication of aggression and reorient it towards building hope. He decried the tendency of many content creators and influencers to deliberately distort facts and push sensational narratives that harm the moral and social fabric of society. So many today on social media promote content that agitate, incite, or corrupt. This trend must be challenged by all well-meaning citizens, it said. The full details of the story is in the Tribune newspaper. Over to you, Kenny.
Another story here with me, the Punch newspaper for today. Federal government plans 77,400 housing units nationwide. The federal government has announced a landmark initiative under the Renew Hope agenda to deliver 77,400 social housing units across Nigeria and launch a new Renew Hope cities in Lagos, Abuja, and Kano in a move to tackle the country housing units. This was disclosed by the Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, Yusuf Atta, in a statement recently. Speaking on the ministry mandates and the importance of the external collaboration, Atta said, the privacy mandate of the ministry is to provide mass housing for Nigeria, and we welcome potential collaboration with Mrs. Ellen Lim and partners International Investments Consulting Joint Company in achieving these goals. He reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to solve housing challenges through major investments and partnership. Under the Renew Hope agenda, we are constructing 3,000 housing units, each in Lagos, Abuja, and Kano for Renew Hope citizens, and 250 housing units in each of the 36 states for the estate, he said. Noting the scope of the ministry's social housing of effort, the ministers announced the nationwide rollout. Additionally, the social housing initiative will deliver 777,400 housing units and ordering in each of the 774 local government areas. Federal government plans 77,400 housing units nationwide. The full details of these stories inside the Punch newspaper for today. Over to you, Ifeoluwa.
In another story in the Tribune newspaper, pineapple farming needs government support. Funding to attract youth experts. An agripreneur and CEO of Davidola Nigerian Limited, Segun Alabi, has disclosed that one of the ways pineapple farming can be attractive to young people is for the government to finance young entrepreneurs towards achieving self-sustainability. Halabi also called on both the federal and state governments to provide an enabling environment that will make Nigerians, especially the youth, to embrace agriculture through the provision of security and social amenities that will discourage rural-urban migration. Halabi, who is the founder of Davidola Farm, made the call while allocating pineapple farms to some farmers who are subscribed to the phase 2 of his pineapple farms plantation, located in Agoiwoye, Ijebu North local government area of Ogun State. He noted that the allocation marks a key milestone in the company's mission to position Nigeria as a leading pineapple exporter in the world in the next few years. While describing pineapple farming as a lucrative business, Halabi noted that pineapple farms are immune to destruction by scarcity, unlike other crops. The demand for pineapple around the world is increasing on a daily basis. If Nigeria becomes the highest producer of pineapple in the world, supplying all other countries around the world, I think is the best thing our government can do for our youth because the demand is here. This is really, really commendable because truly pineapple is a very lucrative business. So it's better for the government to support youth. You know that there's no really job in Nigeria now.
It's also an empowerment, have you?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's even good if we youth can also embrace agriculture, because agriculture is really making sense in this situation of Nigeria. Imagine the high cost of commodity. So if all of us can just have our own farm, I don't think it will be difficult for every one of us to feed. Yeah, so it's better for the government to support to support the youth, funding to attract the youth. And know that if you see that the government is trying to support them, I'm very sure they will embrace that initiative. Exactly. So over to you, Kenny.
So another story here with me in the Punch newspaper for today. Judiciary workers give federal government 2-week ultimatum. The Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria has announced the suspension of the nationwide industrial action earlier scheduled to begin on Monday. The Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria had earlier in a communique they said May 30 and directed its federal chapter to begin an industrial strike from midnight of June 1st. In a statement issued on Sunday, OSUN directed its members nationwide to suspend the planned industrial action and resume work on Monday. The statement explained that a 2-week reprieve had been granted to allow relevant authority time to resolve the outstanding issues. This came after the Minister of Labour and Employment, Mohammed Dangyadi, and other stakeholders held a series of meetings with senior leaders over the weekend. The OSUN, in a communique signed by the Acting General Secretary M.J. Akushila, had called for a strike now suspended and citing up productive meeting with the Minister of Labour and Employment. Judiciary workers give federal government 2 weeks ultimatum. The full details of these stories inside the Punch newspaper for today. Over to you, Felua.
Moving on to Guardian newspaper. Addressing the gender pay gap in Nigeria. According to a 2020 survey by the International Labour Organization, women in Nigeria earn on average 20 to 30% less than male counterparts in the same roles. As of September 2024, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) reported that Nigerian women account for 70% of Nigeria's poorest population, with women earning 45% less than men. Women's lower earnings contribute to higher poverty rates among female-headed households, limiting economic mobility. The wage gap persists even though women often have equal qualifications and sometimes are more educated than men. The gender pay gap in Nigeria is a complex issue influenced by historical, cultural, and economic factors. Closing the gender pay gap is not only fair but also essential for sustainable economic growth and social development. It requires the government to enforce existing labor equality policies and law, invest in education at all levels, and encourage inclusive workplace cultures. One important way to address the gender pay gap in Nigeria is the enforcement and implementation of existing law and policies. For example, in Nigerian Labour Act, National Women's Economic Empowerment Public Policy and Revised National Gender Policy 2021 to 2026. This law and policies provide strategic guidance for tackling gender equity across various sectors and addressing socio-economic inequalities. The full details of this story is in the Guardian newspaper. Over to you, Kelly.
Now to the Vanguard newspaper. Tinubu reforms will ease cost of living soon, says Onanuga. The special advisor on Maiden and Information Strategy to President Bola Tinubu, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, says Nigeria will soon experience a reduction in the cost of living as the effects of the administration economic reforms start to materialize. Speaking to newsmen in Lagos on Sunday, Onanuga stated that the positive effects of President Tinubu's policy will soon be less across all segments of the nation. Onanuga highlighted that President Tinubu has only introduced progressive reforms but had also tackled challenges that previous administration avoided. He added that 2 years is an insufficient yardstick to fully measure the administration's achievements. And noting that, he stated he recognized that while the positive of the president's action over the past 2 years were gradually trickling down, a significant paradigm shift had occurred in the economy. Addressing many pre-existing problems, Onanuga, while referring to the situation before the subsidy removal, said there was no fuel. Many stations were saying no fuel, no fuel. What was happening at that time was that the NNPC had reached the bottom point and it had no money to import fuel. It claimed that it was owing suppliers about $6 billion and the government was owing it about $4 trillion. Tinubu reforms will ease cost of living soon, says Onanuga. The full details of this story is inside the Vanguard newspaper for today. Can you see that this story is very interesting? And we pray that the government should fulfill their promise about this economic situation in Nigeria. So over to you, Felua.
Moving to another story in Guardian newspaper. Forum appeals for relocation of Ginwa barracks as IEDs killed 9 in Borno. Bandits, insurgents living among Nigeria's Sanusi laments. Improvised explosive device IEDs suspected to have been planted by Boko Haram terrorists at the weekend killed 9 persons in Guzamala, local council of Borno State. Following the incessant attacks by Boko Haram and Islamic State West African Province, the Bal Katigmari Consultative (BGC) Forum has urged the federal government to relocate Giwa barracks. Meanwhile, the Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi, has lamented that the country is engulfed in a serious insecurity crisis, with bandits residing in many communities. Victims of the bomb attack were waiting at a bus stop in Marari village, where the incident happened. Speaker of Borno State House of Assembly yesterday expressed deep sorrow over the death. The incident, which occurred on Saturday and about 11 a.m., also left scores of villagers injured who were later evacuated to Monguno and Maduguri for medical treatment. The full details of this story is in the Guardian newspaper. Over to you, Kenny.
Another story here with me in the Vanguard newspaper. Nigeria affected as Saudi Arabia suspend block work visas in a sweeping policy shift geared toward managing inbound labor during peak pilgrimage period. Saudi Arabia has temporarily suspended issuance of the block work visa quota to Nigeria and nationals from 6 other African countries. The suspension, which affected 14 countries in all and impacted other nations. Block work visa are quota-based permit that allow Saudi employers to hire a predetermined number of foreign workers. Once approved, the quota allows businesses to apply for work visas for specific candidates. The decision, announced by the Ministry of Human Resources and Social Development, affected new and pending temporary work visa applications. The measure formed part of a broader effort by the kingdom to tighten regulatory oversight across the immigration and employment, and will remain in place until the end of June 2025. And coinciding with the conclusion of the Eid season, Nigeria affected a Saudi Arabia suspend block with visa. The full story of these stories inside the Vanguard newspaper for today. Over to you, Filua.
In another story in the Guardian newspaper, economy not in crisis, says presidency as Abntv rates Tinubu low. Pan-Yoruba socio-political organization Abntv lamented that President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope has turned into a nightmare for Nigerians. However, the presidential media team said recent government policies under Tinubu opened new economic opportunities for Nigerians and foreign investors, despite prevailing economic challenges. The media team maintained that the economy was not in crisis but in transition, and that those who could adapt were already reaping the benefits. Abntv, in a statement by its leader, Oladipo Olaitan, and National Publicity Secretary Justice Faloye, asserted that the meantime report of the Tinubu administration showed that every human development and socio-political index regressed. It also accused the administration of engaging in massive propaganda claiming false successes. The statement read, "The meantime report shows that every human development and socio-political index has regressed since the coming to office of the Tinubu administration, turning the promise of renewed hope to a nightmare of regressing hopelessness and despair. Rather than take full responsibility for the unmitigated sufferings inflicted on Nigerians in the past 2 years on account of its wrong policy choices and wasteful spending, the Tinubu LP administration has engaged in massive propaganda, claiming false successes and shifting blame to global and historical factors and showing scant empathy for ordinary Nigerians." The full details of this story is in the Guardian newspaper. Over to you, Kenny.
And lastly, story here with me in the Vanguard newspaper for today. Debt bonding, no sin in borrowing, says the presidency. The presidency has defined its borrowing strategy as a necessary tool for economic development and is citing that borrowing when used judicially is not a sin. The clarification was made during a presidential media interaction held in Lagos, where top presidential aides addressed the media on the administration, economic performance and future outlook. Last week, President Bola Tinubu sent a request to the National Assembly seeking approval for additional external and domestic loan, totaling 34.15 trillion naira. However, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, while responding to the question about Nigeria debt profile, said it is not a sin to borrow. Even developed nations like the United States of America, USA, and the United Kingdom, the UK, borrow beyond the GDP. The issue is not borrowing, it is what you do with the borrow fund. He explained that the Bola Tinubu-led administration has made visible gains across microeconomic reforms and inclusive initiatives while managing inherited economic constraints. Debt bonding, no sin in borrowing, says the presidency. So how do you feel about this story? Do you also believe that no sin in borrowing money? Do you believe it?
No, I don't.
Okay. So that's what we have for you in our newspaper. Or do you have anyone left with you?
No.
Okay. So that's what we have for you in our newspaper review. If you like to follow us live and direct on our website page, you can follow us like and direct and watch us, share, like, and comment, and make sure you subscribe and follow us on our website page and click on www.abntv network. Likewise, we have our social media. We have the Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. On our Facebook, you can like, share, comments, and make sure you subscribe and click on Abntv OSUN. Likewise, on our YouTube, you can like, share, and make sure you subscribe and comment and click on Abntv Nigeria as well. And we also have our Twitter. You can click on Abntv OSUN. And lastly, make sure you share, like, comment, and subscribe and click on Abntv Nigeria as well. My name is Kenny Afolabi, and my co-colleague is there.
Ifeoluwa Adesanya.
So thanks for listening and thanks for watching, and I wish you a blessed and prosperous day ahead. Bye for now.